Hello and welcome everyone to the week ahead commodity report, where we will be reviewing the markets for the week ahead for the 14th to the 18th of May 2018. So first of all, today we are going to start off with crude oil. Brent crude oil and WTI crude oil last week, they broke above 3-year highs. We saw Brent crude oil up over 3.4% last week and US crude oil up 2.3%. So certainly oil has had a strong move over the last week, and it's been great to just catch that breakout to the upside. Now, we've had a lot of questions about the next move here, whether we believe there's going to be more upside over the next week and as we continue throughout the month of May, or whether oil is overdue a correction. So there are a few points that I want you to consider as we go into next week. We'll have a look at the charts very shortly as well. So first of all, yes, we absolutely did see a breakout earlier on in the week, and this was helped by Donald Trump, who has abandoned a 2015 deal that limited Iran's nuclear ambitions. So earlier on in the week, this news item provided a catalyst for a breakout with oil, and it was a great trading opportunity on Tuesday through to Thursday just to catch that breakout. It caused over a 150-point move to the upside, or a $1.50 move above the $70 level for WTI crude oil, where it broke out to $71.50 per barrel, which is the highest level in over 3 years. Now, into the close on Friday, I'll just briefly show you the chart. We have seen a pullback here where we might see a little bit more downside as we go into next week. So what else do we need to consider here as we go into next week in terms of the next short-term move? Well, on Friday, we had the Baker Hughes oil rig count. So US drillers have added oil rigs for a 6th consecutive week. They've in actual fact added an additional 10 oil rigs, and overall that is typically considered as bearish as we see more supply to the market. So we've seen that have a direct impact into the close here on Friday. It was certainly decision time on Friday afternoon as to whether oil would continue to break out into the close or whether it was going to start to correct. So that's another point to bear in mind. Also, we've had the update from the commitment of traders data with regard to the net long and net sell short positions from hedge funds. And hedge funds have cut the bullish net long positions to a near 5-month low. So that's been quite interesting here. So potentially as we go into next week, that could also have an impact that hedge funds have trimmed their net long positions on crude oil. So potentially we could be due a short-term move lower here for crude oil. Now, do bear in mind though that overall last week oil is up on the week. So WTI crude oil is still up just under 3% on the week. So if you go over to the weekly chart, it's still a very strong close. However, on the daily chart, we may see a little bit more downside as we go into next week. So we've in fact banked profits now on the breakout from last week. So we're flat on oil as we go into next week, which gives us some flexibility here to take on a new trade. So I'm going to look at this from 2 points of view. One point of view is that we could look for a short-term sell short opportunity. And if we were going to do that, I'd be more inclined to go with Brent crude oil just because it hasn't broken down as much as WTI crude oil on Friday, and it's got the potential for more downside here. So potentially taking it down to the weekly pivot and some of the faster moving averages, which could be anywhere between, let's say, 50 points up to 150 points, which simply means we're going to take advantage of some probable profit taking here as we go into next week. We could just see a little bit of a correction in the early part of next week after we've seen this breakout out to the 3-year highs. But we still need further confirmation of that, because what may happen next week is we just run into some of the faster moving averages here and some of the underlying support at the moment, and then oil doesn't really break down much, and it's just better just to wait. And then this would be the other side of the trade, waiting for oil just to come back into some support, and then the next time we get a buy signal, go back in at a lower price and just take the price higher, in which case I'd be more inclined to go with WTI crude oil, because where the price structure is at the moment, if we pull back a little bit further at the beginning of next week, it's going to move right into our buy zone, and at that point we will be looking to re-establish a position. Normally, good times of week to look to re-enter oil would be to take advantage of the crude oil inventory data, which comes out every week on a Wednesday. That can be a catalyst for a great trading opportunity. We can often get some good follow through on that as well. So we will be waiting for that data next week too, which could give us a great re-entry here for oil going into next week. Now, the other market I want to cover for you today is, of course, going to be the precious metals. And it's well worth having a look at gold. We'll have a look at silver and also platinum, because they have had the anticipated moves that we discussed last week. So last week on the week ahead report, we discussed that we have buy signals on gold, silver and platinum. And those have worked out quite nicely over the course of this week. Platinum has been up over 200 points in our favor. Gold has been up over 150 points. And silver has been up over 35 points in our favor as well over the last week. What I found interesting, again, just going back to some of the data and reports, is that we have seen the overall net long position increase over the last week. So essentially, money managers have raised their net long positions in gold contracts over the last week. And we've also seen a gain this week for gold prices. It's the first weekly gain in 4 weeks, as we started to see the US dollar index correct into the close on Friday. So let's go over, first of all, to the US dollar index. We actually have a sell signal now on the US dollar. You could look at this either directly via the US dollar index, or you can actually see this via some of the correlations as well. So the US dollar Swiss franc has also got a very similar price structure to the US dollar index too, but we prefer to look at this directly via the US dollar because we're trading gold versus the US dollar, we're trading silver versus the US dollar, and platinum versus the US dollar as well. So into the close on Friday, we have a sell signal on the US dollar. It still needs a bit more confirmation. So what I would like to see, if this is going to break down next week, would be just a further move, breaking back below Friday's low, breaking below the weekly pivot and the weekly support, and then taking the price all the way back down towards the lower end of this channel, being a classic V-shaped reversal pattern price structure, which is often very common after the price gets too overbought. Now, this will probably show better if I bring out a weekly chart. You'll visually be able to see this more significantly for the US dollar index. So look at that rejection candle that has formed on the US dollar. So that rejection candle that is formed on the weekly chart, if we break through the weekly lows here, it could certainly lead to more momentum to the downside, which not only would be supportive for gold, silver and platinum as well, you'd likely see some support coming in here as well. For example, for the euro US dollar. So the euro US dollar, I've actually got a buy signal into the close here on Friday. If I show you the weekly chart, it's just the opposite of what we're seeing at the moment on the US dollar index, which is essentially a rejection candle at key support, whereas we've got a rejection candle at resistance on the US dollar. So I think it's definitely worth keeping an eye on the US dollar going into next week, and whether the top is now in, because we've recently broken out to 4-month highs. So if we start to see this build up momentum to the downside, it would likely give some support here for the metals going into next week as well. Now, into the close on Friday, I suspect we've seen some profit taking here. From a daily range point of view, we broke out just above to the weekly pivot here on Friday on gold, so it's to be expected to see a bit of resistance at 13.25. Overall, gold has closed up on the week. It's been the first weekly close we've seen higher gains in a month here, and we found support on gold where it needed to last week, which was just above 1,300 US dollars. It found support at that zone and it rallied around 200 points, so around $20 move for gold over the last week. But there is still the potential for gold to build a base here going into next week and then making a move back towards 13.25 and then making a run up back towards the previous levels of resistance going back to April as well. So I would suggest that is within the realm of possibility here for gold going to next week. As we go into Monday or Tuesday, what I'll be looking out for is to see if we just find support at previous level of resistance, which is where we broke out from last week. So if we just hold onto approximately 13.10 to 13.15, we build a bit of a base, we could springboard higher. Where there would be some concern here for gold for the long positions would be if gold was to break, let's say, back below 13.10, continue to move back down to the 1300s. That would indicate that it's just a failed breakout and that we may see a revisit back towards the 1300s and possibly break below that level as well. Now, the price structure at the moment isn't suggesting that. It looks like some profit taking into the close on Friday, but we're watching to see whether we're going to see the price springboard higher next week or whether it needs to back and fill a little bit more before the low is in. Now, platinum we've discussed several times in the week ahead commodity reports, at the 900 zone being a sweet spot for long positions on platinum and accumulation zone, and platinum has had a really nice move over the last week. So we bounced off that 900 zone about a week and a half ago. There's been plenty of opportunities to get into platinum here. It's rallied now approximately 300 points now off the lows here, so it's been a very profitable trade opportunity. You've got a classic V-shaped reversal pattern price structure here on platinum as well. It's done very well for us over the last week, and it's essentially hit the first levels of resistance that we were looking to achieve. So it's now into the close on Friday. It's sitting around $923. We've come back towards the upper end of its recent channels here, so you can see where the price structure has been ricocheting really between support and resistance. And of course the question is next week is whether it's going to just pause at this level, potentially rotate lower, or whether we're going to see the US dollar correct, and that could also provide a bit more catalyst here for the metals to break out and break some of these recent downward trending channels. Because if you have a look at platinum on higher time frames, so if I just zoom out on the chart a little bit more for you, normally we see this range of $900 and then taking the price back towards $1,000 for a swing trade over approximately a 3 to 4 month period. So it could be just building a base at the moment for platinum before we start to see it break out from these zones of resistance. But to a certain degree, that will be vulnerable to dollar strength or weakness next week. So if the dollar continues to break down, we would likely see platinum get more support. And if the dollar breaks out to the upside, we could see a reversal lower for platinum. Palladium has also been a good mover over the last week. We broke out from the neckline of $975, and again that was over a 250 point breakout, taking the price back towards $1,000 over Thursday and Friday. Great trade opportunity just to catch the breakout. You can see very clearly here V-shaped reversal pattern price structure, broke above the neckline on Thursday and then Friday, in and out of the trade, and it's been a nice trading opportunity there for Palladium if you caught that breakout. And finally, silver. We discussed silver a number of times, the accumulation zone, which is sitting just above $16 per ounce at the moment. We saw the gold to silver ratio reach 80 to 1 at the beginning of May, which is typically a great time to be looking to buy gold or silver. Since then, silver has rallied over 80 points to the upside, or 80 cents. It's gone up from just around $16 per ounce up to $16.80 per ounce on Friday. Again, I suspect this is probably profit taking into the close here on Friday, where we've seen a bit of a pullback. We've also come into some overhead resistance here at $16.80, which has happened several times here for silver. We may see some backing and filling at the beginning of next week. Again, I do want to see what the dollar does as we go into next week, and whether the dollar does start to correct further to the downside, which would very likely give some additional support for the metals. We've done very well on the metals and oil over the last week here, so it's just a case of managing positions now going into next week. We're happy to be nimble here and also take advantage of opportunities directly trading the dollar and some of the commodity currencies as well. So I would also have a look at the Australian dollar, US dollar, which has developed a buy signal as well over Thursday and Friday, and we've also seen the New Zealand dollar, US dollar start to get some support here, although my preference over the two is the Australian dollar, US dollar, which has really started to build some momentum. If you have a look at the weekly chart here, we've got quite a significant rejection candle which is developed on the Australian dollar, US dollar, which is a commodity currency, into the close on Friday as well. So there's several markets to be having a look at as we go into next week. You definitely don't want to miss out on these opportunities, because potentially some of these reversals can lead to quite significant gains as we continue to progress throughout the month of May and into the summer here as well. So of course, if you'd like to find out more about the training programs that we provide at the Gold and Silver Club, if you would like access to our custom built market data and news trading platform, all you need to do is go to www.jointhelivetradingroom.com. So again, for more information on the training programs available at the Gold and Silver Club and access to our custom built market data and news trading platform, please go to www.jointhelivetradingroom.com, make an application, and we will of course get in touch with you ASAP. So with that, I wish you all a fantastic week, good trading, and of course we'll see you back here next week for the week ahead commodity report.